In the year 2026, the color of your walls can directly affect whether money stays in your home or quickly slips away, because color has the power to create a certain state of mind for those living inside. There are families with decent incomes, yet the feeling of lack is always there. Money comes in regularly, but it also goes out just as steadily. When you take a closer look, a common thread often lies in the living space itself, a space that makes it hard for the mind to truly rest. The color of the walls, something people see every single day, can unknowingly pull their mindset into a state of tension and urgency. And it is exactly that state of mind that makes it harder for money to stick around. In 2026, as financial and informational pressures continue to rise, the ability to hold on to money depends heavily on the state people are in when making decisions. Wall colors repeatedly affect our breathing patterns, emotions, and the speed of our thoughts. Living in a space that creates tension for too long often leads people to spend just to relieve pressure. It also makes them more likely to make rushed decisions or to avoid facing their finances altogether. I have met many families who simply changed their wall colors without making any changes to their income or investments, and the atmosphere at home completely shifted. The way they talked about money became lighter. Less frustration, less rushing. When the mind is no longer being pulled in a negative direction, many expenses stop happening automatically, without awareness. So, in this video, I will reveal the paint colors that are most suitable for the year 2026. Each color is connected to a specific emotional state, and it is that state that determines whether a home can hold on to money or fall into a long-lasting feeling of scarcity. So instead of asking, which color brings wealth, I prefer to look at it from another angle. Which color helps me feel less stressed, less rushed, and less likely to make poor decisions when I am tired? In 2026, a few colors do that quite clearly. Let's go through each one in detail. First, light brown. Light brown is a color that often gets overlooked. It does not make a strong impression at first glance. The eyes tend to slide right past it. Some people even blurt out, "This color looks old-fashioned." And while that might sound funny, it is exactly that mature feeling that many people are actually missing. A steady foundation. A place to anchor the rhythm of daily life. A space where the mind can pause. I have noticed that people who often feel restless, constantly compare themselves to others, or always feel like they are falling behind, usually live in spaces that are too light, too bright, too smooth. Everything looks good, but the mind cannot seem to settle. And when the mind has nothing to hold on to, people easily start chasing what is outside, chasing others, chasing the feeling of, "I need more." And money tends to leave just as quickly as those thoughts arrive. Light brown gives off a very specific feeling. It lowers everything just a little. Somehow, in a space with light brown walls, people find it easier to sit still. They are less jumpy, less eager to prove themselves with money. Life slows down not in a lazy way, but in a steady and grounded way. Many off-track financial decisions start from an unsettled inner state. When your sense of safety feels shaky, your behavior with money tends to get off rhythm. Some spend impulsively just to feel lighter. Others hold on too tightly and become tense. Light brown does not touch your finances directly, but it helps create a stable enough foundation for your mind to stop overreacting to small changes. I once saw a family repaint just one wall in their living space with light brown simply because they wanted something warmer to look at. What changed first was not the decor, but the way they spoke to each other. Less snapping, less bruised pride. Even conversations about money became lighter. When the emotional temperature in a home drops, financial decisions start to go wrong less often. Light brown also reduces the urge to look outward and compare yourself to others. And comparison is one of the fastest ways money slips away. You compare, then buy. You compare, then spend. You compare, then feel like you are missing something. But when your living space constantly reminds you of what you already have, your current foundation, the urge to chase, fades naturally. Let me explain something important to avoid using this color the wrong way. Light brown needs light. In a small house with poor lighting, this color can feel heavy very quickly. Oh, please, I am telling you, do not try this in a dark space. Light brown works best in open areas with daylight or when used in moderation. The best places to use it are shared living spaces, reading corners, or familiar gathering areas. Spots that need warmth, a sense of stability, and that cozy "I'm home" feeling. Avoid using it in narrow hallways or small bedrooms. Second, blue. Blue walls are often linked with wealth because they help create an atmosphere where people can maintain emotional balance. When your mind feels less tense and less rushed, you are more likely to control your spending, less likely to buy just to feel better, less likely to make hasty decisions, and more likely to stay consistent with your financial plans. Physically speaking, studies on color in our environment show that red tends to increase arousal, while blue leans more toward a relaxing effect. Some research even describes blue as helping to slow down physiological responses compared to red. One study on blue light found that in a stress recovery experiment, blue lighting helped people relax faster than regular white light. Applied to real life, a calmer home, fewer overreactions, and fewer money decisions driven by emotion. Blue is also great for improving sleep. Reviews of ideal sleep environments often list blue as one of the most calming and soothing colors, which supports better rest, and better sleep leads to clearer thinking the next day, and clearer thinking means money stays. You double-check numbers, pause before big purchases, do not agree to things just because you are tired, and you do not avoid financial matters because your brain is foggy. One thing needs to be made clear. Blue on the walls is not the same as the strong blue light from screens or LED lights at night. Many medical sources explain that blue light in the evening can suppress melatonin and disrupt your biological rhythm, making it harder to fall asleep or get good rest. So, if you are using blue to keep your rhythm, make sure to pair it with warm lighting in the evening and reduce screen time before bed. Blue is also associated with a sense of trust. A study on color and trust reported consistent findings that blue tends to build more trust than red in experiments. At home, a sense of trust and stability can make money conversations less stressful, increase focus at work, and even improve negotiation skills. This is a very practical kind of wealth. When good opportunities come, you can recognize and hold on to them. Third, bright yellow. Let me be direct. In 2026, many people will still come across great opportunities, but they are tired. Tired to the point that their minds are constantly tense and overloaded with tasks. And when exhaustion drags on, your natural mental focus begins to shrink. People start focusing only on holding on tightly to what they already have. And in that exact mindset, opportunities tend to slip by quickly. There is one thing I have noticed very clearly. Spaces that are too dark or too dull often push people into a defensive way of thinking. Always playing it safe, always thinking, I need to protect what I have first. Everything else can wait, but 2026 is not a year to wait. Life is moving much faster. So, what does bright yellow do in this context? It gently wakes the brain up, not in a jarring or stressful way. It simply brightens the mind a little. Somehow, when people are in a space with bright yellow, they tend to think of solutions instead of just thinking about risks. And no, bright yellow does not make people reckless. It simply helps them feel less gloomy about the future. And in a high-pressure year like 2026, feeling less gloomy is already a form of luck. When your mindset is not being dragged down, you can actually consider opportunities with a clear head. It might sound silly, but I have seen many important decisions made in moments when people's minds felt lighter. When the space around you no longer weighs you down, your thoughts start flowing more freely. That is why bright yellow is considered a good color for 2026. It keeps your thinking from shutting down. And when your thinking stays open, opportunities finally have a way to enter. In many cases, that exact moment is where money begins. Where should you use bright yellow? Your work corner, your thinking space, the place where you come up with ideas. You do not need much. I beg you, just one section of the wall is enough. Something that lights up your mood a little every time you look at it. That is when bright yellow has done its job. Fourth, light gray. Gray is often misunderstood. People usually associate it with sadness, coldness, or gloom. I used to think that too. But the more I observed, the more I realized something. When used right, light gray walls help people feel more steady. Light gray brings balance. It stays still and offers a sense of stability. In such a space, thoughts slow down and reactions soften. For those who rely heavily on thinking, that feeling matters more than appearance. I have noticed people who constantly deal with money, contracts, and long-term decisions often feel mentally drained. Not because they lack ability, but because their minds are always working. In homes with light gray walls, I often hear the same phrase, "Let me think about it more." That pause helps avoid rushed decisions. What stood out to me is how light gray naturally keeps emotions neutral. No effort needed. When you are not high on excitement or low from discouragement, your behavior with money stays steady. Less impulsive buying, less fear-based saving, less reacting to noise. But let me be clear, light gray is not for every home. Please do not copy others. If your space lacks natural light, gray can feel heavy, not because of the color, but because the lighting cannot lift it. Light gray works when your space is bright. With windows and daylight, gray is no longer cold, it becomes a calm base. I have seen people repaint just one wall in their workspace and notice a big difference. They stay longer, feel less restless, and think more clearly. So where does light gray work best? A home office, a reading space, or any place for long-term thinking? These areas need focus more than emotion, and light gray supports that well. What about dining or shared spaces? I usually do not recommend it. These areas need warmth and connection. If used in the wrong spot, gray can make things feel distant, not cold, but less close. Light gray does not excite or promise anything, but it does something important. It keeps your mindset balanced. And when that happens, your money decisions become more thoughtful, less rushed, less reactive. Fifth, white. White is also misunderstood. Many think it feels empty, cold, or dull. Funny enough, the most exhausting spaces are not empty, they are overloaded. Too many colors, too much stuff, too much visual noise. People often say they feel overwhelmed, but when they look around, there is nowhere for the eyes or the mind to pause. Walls, furniture, and decor all shout for attention. The brain has no rest. White does something simple yet powerful. It creates space for the mind. When the eyes meet a quiet white surface, the brain relaxes. No effort, no thinking, just a breath. That breath can change your entire state. Many financial decisions that go off track actually begin with a mind that is too full, too cluttered, too overwhelmed. When your head feels packed with thoughts, worries, and to-do lists, you are much more likely to either rush through choices or avoid making them altogether. White acts like a soft reset. It untangles mental knots. And when that happens, your thinking naturally becomes more grounded, more stable, and more intentional. I have walked into homes filled with beautiful, trendy colors, yet the people living there seemed constantly tense. Conversations about money felt like battles. Even the idea of spending brought stress. But after those same homes were simplified, after a few white surfaces were reintroduced, the shift in atmosphere was real. It did not make the space instantly joyful, but it definitely felt lighter. The pressure in the air eased. That invisible heaviness many people did not know they were carrying started to lift. Interestingly, white also plays a quiet but powerful role in helping people move on from the past. When a space is crowded with old colors, past memories, or leftover clutter, the brain finds it harder to shift gears. White is like a blank canvas. It does not erase the past, nor does it demand that you forget. Instead, it gently opens the door to a fresh start, a new mindset, a different way forward. Over the years, I have met many individuals who struggle with money, not because they lack skill or opportunity, but because they carry the emotional weight of unresolved chapters, past debts, old mistakes, lingering guilt. White does not magically fix any of that, but it offers your mind the quiet pause it needs. It softens the pull of yesterday, just enough so you can take a real step into tomorrow. So where should you use white? In transition areas, hallways, small rooms, corners you pass daily. When too colorful, these spots quietly drain you. A patch of white there is like a small breath enough to lighten your mood. But please remember, white does not mean make everything white. Oh no, please, do not do that. Too much white turns cold and empty. The key is placement, just enough to let your eyes and mind rest. White will not bring you money, but it clears the path for new thoughts. When your mind is less tangled, you reflect more easily on spending, saving, and priorities. And many financial changes start with small, quiet questions that only come when the mind has space. Sixth, light beige. Light beige fits perfectly into that role. It is not loud. It does not demand attention. But oddly enough, that nothing is exactly what makes it feel breathable. Beige walls do not push your emotions up, nor do they pull your emotions down. They keep everything at a gentle middle ground. I have noticed that homes painted in light beige tend to have less hidden tension. Every family has its own stories, but this kind of space keeps emotions more even. When issues come up, they get talked through. When someone is upset, the mood settles faster. Things rarely escalate. Speaking of money, let me be direct. Light beige does not rush your thoughts. It gives life a steady rhythm, a space without pressure. People in beige-painted homes tend to slow down enough to notice things. Less chasing, less need to prove anything with money. It may be frustrating to hear, but many poor financial choices come from feeling pushed to keep up, to succeed, to avoid falling behind. When your space is calm, your brain stays out of defense mode. And when you are not defending, you choose slower but smarter. I once saw a family repaint bold walls with light beige just to feel less tired. Money was not even on their minds. But months later, they talked about spending differently. Less stress over small things. Less emotional shopping. Their money did not grow, but the sense of lack faded. Another thing, light beige does not compete with your furniture. It stays quietly in the background, letting life feel lighter. You do not have to change everything, just ease the pull. So where should you use light beige? Living rooms, hallways, shared areas, spaces you walk through daily. If every pass adds pressure, it builds fast. A beige wall there is like a quiet breath in your day. This color suits middle-aged or older folks, or families who want a calmer pace. Not everyone needs intense emotion. Some just need peace to live longer and more comfortably. To be clear, light beige is not about giving up. Please do not think that. It is a color for those who know that staying steady is a kind of strength. And when life has rhythm, hard choices get easier. Money becomes a matter of logic, not stress. By now, you likely see this clearly. No color magically brings money. No color decides wealth. And if anyone claims that it is hard to believe, but here is what is true. The space you live in shapes your mindset. When your mind is stretched, money choices go off track. When grounded, your behavior shifts. Less panic, fewer regrets. These colors are not meant to make your house better than others. They serve a real-life purpose to help you rest inside your own home. When you rest, your mind can think clearly, deeply, and with fewer mistakes. I have heard many say this after changing their space. I don't know why, but I feel lighter. Not because of more money, but because worry stopped pulling them. And with less worry, money stops slipping away unnoticed. If you are thinking of repainting, start simple. Do not ask, which color brings wealth? Ask, which color helps me feel less rushed, less stressed, less likely to decide wrong? That color for you is the right one. You do not need to repaint the whole house. Just one wall, one space, one spot you see daily. That is enough to begin. Feng Shui, at its heart, is not about changing fate. It is about setting up your life so you can live more clearly and mindfully. If today, after watching this video, you feel like clearing out one small corner in your home just to make it a little more peaceful, then this video has already done its job. The rest, what you choose to change, what you keep, and what you let go of, is completely up to you. A calmer home, a calmer mind. Often, That is all it takes for money to stay a little longer.